It is. It's just not getting forward. Yeah, I think so. Hello. Let's see.
You, Michael? Hi.
So you're the reason why we're here.
Are things going all right so far?
Yeah, they are. I was just setting up the live stream, so we're streaming.
Oh, cool.
So everything you're saying right now.
Hooray.
I'm glad that everyone hears what I have to say.
Yes.
Which means I'll run away very quickly. So it's nice to meet you too.
Yes. Nice to meet you as well.
How are you? How's everything?
I'm doing well. So I'm sure this works. Let's see. Does it look like it's fuzzy? How have you been?
Good. I'm good.
Good. Yeah, I guess we should probably start, right? We'll start at 11:30.
You want to run that one and I'll run it? That lens, I don't know. But it has I remember that's how the old you know what stinger out is. Stinger. I put it back. Yeah.
It's not cool.
Well, I can adjust it to random. A little bit of that. No, I'll be random here.
Yeah, I can actually move over maybe. Does that give you enough room?
Mine's
I took the digital output and sent it downstairs. Use digital output for the XLR next year. And the balance of the TSDCA.
Hi.
Yeah, that's very popular. It takes a lot of
Building bridges.
You know how you do it? You switch it with six, and then you switch it back. So you got it almost. Yeah, you build up. I got it, everybody see it, and I basically got everything going. And after that, you're trying to like add something. You go, oh yeah, you want to but I totally
Right? Except I'm checking, there's like a 30-second delay, so it's quite hard to actually place it. Yeah. Next time.
That looks great.
What's up?
Welcome, welcome. It's kind of amazing to be here amongst a group of fellow designers, sound folk. For me at least, it's kind of astonishing and wonderful to put all these faces and names together. We spend so much time in the virtual world sort of connecting people, so this is great. This is Toy. I'm David Budries. This is Toy. So we're just here to welcome you and give you a little bit of beginning on what TSDCA is. Hopefully you already have a clue, but just in case, I think it makes sense for us to start just to describe a little bit.
So, as some of you know, some of you may not know, discussions started after the Tony Awards in San Francisco, and we started discussing the 617 at first, and we found that we had a lot of commonalities and standards and concerns that we thought we were all facing on our own. And it's really nice for the first time to talk to people and sit and just realize that this was almost universal. Then we opened up to our town halls that were in New York, Chicago, LA, Philadelphia, and New York. And there were 200 people together, sometimes and it was pretty much unanimous that we all felt that they wanted to have an organization that supported sound design and composition in theater and to be advocates for us. And we live people saying all of a sudden that we didn't understand. So that's the basis of how it started. And once we got the response from everybody across the nation is when we basically decided we're going to go forward and create this. And it's been this whirlwind year of figuring out what our strengths and weaknesses are among us while we're all working and having our own careers at the same time. And trying to put this all together. It's been extremely exciting. Just right around the weekend was a really exciting. We got this this evening conference.
So this is a completely volunteer organization at this point. At some point, I think as it grows, it may have to change. So that there'll be some paid leadership organization and whatnot. But at the moment, that one of the challenges are we're all working professionally in one manner or another, and so needing your help in every respect is really important. There are a lot of committees that have already been established that begin to organize the various manners in which we want to define ourselves. But I think what's even more important is the beginning of the committees that we have. Yeah. With this idea of the committees and the work that we're doing, this is all based on information feedback from these town hall meetings, from ourselves, and talking amongst our comrades about what kinds of things are important, what kinds of things have been missing, where we need to put attention. And so as a result, I don't want anyone to think that we've figured this out yet. This is very much a work in progress, and very much in need of as much positive input as possible to help define the kinds of things that bring us together and the kinds of things that define us independently. This is no attempt to make us a homogeneous group of individuals or artists. This is an attempt to give our diverse group voice and the ability to try to communicate to a number of different people. Good gentlemen, thank you for coming. There's name tags up front that you should grab for yourselves. That's part of our panel one that will be coming up. So we've organized a number of different discussions and talks today, and we're trying to make a thread through all of what we're doing that hopefully will mean something to all of us. So the very first thing that's going to be coming up is a little lunch discussion with Abe, Jane, and Nick, I believe, which is going to be the identity of sound designers. And that's a very interesting topic in itself. We're going to be following up with something we're calling the state of the arts. In this case, taking a look at what a few of us will be talking in general about what is it that we're doing, how we're doing it, and how are we being perceived as well. So this is something about both perception and practice, followed by the future of sound enforcement, which indeed is the life is starting to set up for us, and ideas of really remarkable software that will help us in terms of articulating spaces. Then we're going to do a little bit of celebration of some artists from across the pond. We'll do work practices on composition. So we're trying to cover the fact that it's the Theatrical Sound Design and Composition Association. We're really trying to weave together these different but still very, very much related fields. And there's a lot more in there that we'll talk about as well. Building a sound team, what does that mean? Collaboration on a musical. And then at the very end, Mr. Milburn and I are going to host a kind of a roundtable. We'll have talked about all of these various different things, but the bottom line here is that we're not just here to yap at you all, we want to prove that. So if you don't get a chance to say something that's important that you feel is something that we should be addressing as an association, this roundtable at the end is really a vehicle for letting anything that you have on your mind, put it on the table so that we can figure out how do we integrate that into a plan, into a process, and within that, make this organization vital for the community of us as soon as possible.
The one thing on the other side of it is that tomorrow morning we're going to have community meetings, so you can understand the community side of it if you want to join in on any of those. Committees we have currently are the bylaws committee, the communication committee, the events committee, finance and development committee, the membership committee, the education/membership committee. That's not that important. Two committees are on committee, so we're doing that one. Outreach committee and work practices committee. But we're all going to meet tomorrow at 9 and go over what they are. And if you're interested in being on any committees at all, work on those committees, that's going to be your contact. And then tomorrow evening is going to be the first membership meeting where we will go through committees, so that's the membership committees as well. But also talk about the website because really what we have so that it was really important for us on the membership side of how to network, how to connect with each other. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. Hopefully we can do it and then the results of the election. So if you have voted, close to
And in terms of membership meetings, because we do all these meetings virtually, we still meeting stuff like that means you could be anywhere, and we will find out when people are available. So don't think that your locality has to be a limitation in terms of potential contributions. So, we make it work. This is very frustrating for both people, but we do the best we can.
we really love to start to have regional meetings and stuff.
Any questions from you all before we start the conversation? Well, we really collectively, all of us want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time, for making this contribution, and hopefully, as we build this, to making it into a very substantial organization that does represent us faithfully throughout the nation. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you ever done any live streaming?
Have I? Yes.
Do you know if I can put in a audio send?
Sorry?
Do you know if I can put in an audio send?
You should be able to. Which service is this? Wirecast? Go to preferences. Oh no, it's under sources perhaps. Sorry.
That's what I thought, but that's where I was.
Built-in microphone, so that would be not what you want.
No, because that's here. It's actually coming out of that.
I'm going to say Nick first. So Nick, can I say a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. The first thing I should say is, and I've had conversations it's amazing to be in a room with people that we don't ever get to be in a room at the same time. We're all working with our colleagues in other disciplines, but that we're all here together in
What
this room, and the generosity and the capacity of opinion and what kind will provide build shows for, that run shows for, that on the other end of the telephone, some of you guys have assisted me. It's amazing that we're all here together. And I'm incredibly excited that we're going to start this conversation. I think thinking about our role as artists and colleagues and collaborators. And I'm excited to start that conversation.
And then I just want to say the person that has been given us the identity that we're talking about today, Professor Jake.
Looking at, further on what Nick was mentioning, looking around this room, I don't think there's been a collection of sound design minds gathered at one time since probably Jonathan Deeds was along.
Might be able to get it
But it is a truly great to be here. I think it's a good auspicious beginning for TSDCA.
So part of this has been about figuring out who we are. And so three of us talk a little bit about how we can get that discussion going, develop a vocabulary, figure out how those definitions are for ourselves, for our parents, what we do, telling the director what we hope to help them, and how we deal with data contracts, which may all be very different vocabulary, but very different decisions. So Nick, can you bring up your slide?
And we realize this could be a little bit of a bottomless pit, so we will beg your indulgence to try a little icebreaker for us, but also to be maybe a little bit brief, and we could go on for a while. But we are curious about who we perceive yourselves to be as collaborative artists, and if there's maybe a way that you could describe for us, by way of introduction, either a process or materials or a method that you latched onto in a recent production that might describe what you are as an artist and as a collaborator.
Yeah, it definitely tells who you are and where you're from. And some, I feel there are pockets of people who know each other, but I don't think everybody knows everybody, so this is a chance for us to go on and introduce ourselves as well. And also, no pressure on this. Don't try to describe, because there's, I feel like the last couple of years, 100 words to describe sound design, there's been a lot of stress about this. So this is just one thing that you did on an aspect of your process, a phrase, or just one line of what you did on that last show, or that you enjoyed. Maybe we should say what we enjoyed. It's good. I'd like to start. I'm going to start. So my name's James Shaw. I'm originally from Kansas. I live in Brooklyn. And on the last show, I discovered the U-bass, which is a bass. Maybe it's really all you, but it's a bass. So it looks like you ukulele, but it plays like bass. And I had a very happy to listen to it, and it's awesome.
My name is Nick Kourtides. I'm originally from New York City. I live in Philadelphia now. On my last show, I made a northern set that come up wirelessly out of an elevator in the city. Which is breathtaking amount of money to put at risk every day. It's happening.
I'm Jacob, and my last Broadway show was last century, so it's hard to echo back that far, but there have been many moments. Being able to just retell in the way that we all do what the creators of the project that we're working on is the most satisfying. We are contributing a great deal to the impact of whatever production it is we're working on. And like is your favorite child, all the shows that you've all done, that's something special.
I just like doing
and develop my time in mind getting those original interactions that sounds so good. Hi, Michael Bodine. I live in Chicago and I work with Warner in the Highway. We've been working together since 1999, but designers and composers know what I do, and the things that I find exceptional about working in theater is that you have so many great artistic working towards one, and that's to tell a story. So that when the people is enjoys is good. And that's what I found.
Hi, my name is GW. Currently I'm living in Wisconsin. And recently I did Milwaukee for and spent over $250 in sound effects. And put into a in Alabama. And it was the coolest like atmosphere of sound I've ever had. It was from the book library.
Hi, I'm Arshan Galas from Boston. And the last thing I worked on was this beginnings of a workshop and a new show, and the spending time with the rest of the creative team and dramaturgy and stage management and the playwright, just talking for hours with no actual agenda, really felt like the image that came to mind was it's sort of like feeling like the sound specializing part of the collective design brain, as opposed to being people trying to do their own thing, which I feel like is really important.
I'm Jeremy Bloom. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, born and raised. And the last show I worked on was Teaming with the Shrew in Washington, D.C. at Shakespeare Theater. And when I'm at a cocktail party and people ask me what I do, I tell them I'm a sound designer and give me a blank look. And I tell them it's kind of like being an illustrator, or at least the kind of sound design I do, like being an illustrator. And that illustrator uses different inks and different tools to create pictures or graphics, and I do the same thing in 3D. That's what sound space.
My name is Michael Speculolo. I think I'm most excited by trying and failing to incorporate real-time processing into shows.
Joseph Henry from Princeton, New Jersey. My favorite moments are when sound and the other departments can come together and the whole collective can really enhance the story and really help the story.
Hi, I'm Eric Lawson, currently in the New York area, and I'm excited about creating things that didn't know I could create, and that's usually through collaboration with diverse creative people.
Philip Owen, live in Austin, Texas, and one of my recent favorite experiences was Marisol, which I got to be rehearsal with the cast from everyone, and allow them to also play some of them as well, because they work together and kind of let sound express the character together. So they played a little bit of music during the show, but also had sound effects and everything as well that was pretty vibe and action. So it was very, very glad
Hey, I'm Mark Fassbender, born and raised and living and working here in New York. I think my favorite part about sound design is working in a collaborative process with the director and other designers, and again, to create this unified message. And it's so cool to be working with people that are all interested in this common goal. That I just get a feeling that I love tech, because that's the moment where we all say, oh yeah, this all can come together. How cool. So that's it.
I'm Joel Allen. I'm in Atlanta, but I live in Parkland right now. And strangely enough, my last two shows have been in art galleries. And I sound design artists. And
and I designed a robust, very high delivery system to turn on when there's motion sensors, so that it wouldn't play all the time, and you wouldn't have to hear that person's ours.
Hi, I'm Tom Kourtides, I'm from Kansas City. I can remember, I think it was like around 88. It was like a TV anyway. We had our first sit down meeting discussion with you had to see our speaking, charge the limit, and the fees for God. He said, we decided, we're site-based design your work on it. And that was in a discussion for about 12 years. And that's changed now, fortunately. But frequently when people ask me, I would say, well, there's like 4 designers that are working on what you see. And typically 3 of us are working on what you hear. Sound designer, composer, and voice. And that's kind of what I do.
Hi, Alex Newman, live here in New York, and Southern New Hampshire. I think my favorite part of the process, specifically with a director I've been working with for years, is the Dropbox sandbox that he and I play in. And we sort of just like bounce things back and forth at 3 a.m. when you're just sleep, and just there's always a feeling of like you can't fail. You can put something up there that won't work, but you can't fail.
Well, again, I'm really from Carolina. I live here in New York City now. I love being in the room with other collaborators, and what I actually like the most is when we have a larger sound team that can actually do a community brain on how to solve a problem instead of one person trying to attack it on their own side.
It's certain time. I'm Michael Eisenberg, and I am the Northeast Regional Manager for the Deiorio Technic, and I live here in New York, and from Kansas City. And I have to admit, the last show I designed was last year from Theatrical, which Nick and I talked about quite a bit because he helped me obtain some material from Moderators. But my favorite part of that process, and most of the processes, especially the musical, is just working with the music department. I mean, singing up with them on the front end and trying to achieve the same result and being able to have ideas back and forth and talk about ideas in a very calm, coherent way. Even if it's over an intercom, however many feet away from the conductors. It's fun.
It's Brad Ward, I'm a sound designer, and other than the word sound, the other word I'm hearing the most is collaboration. That's what I enjoy working with being part of the team, direct whatever, sitting at the table, creating the show. When I do composition, I work in the studio with musicians, collaborating. And with all of it, I had a job literally at the corner at an architecture firm where I sit with architects and we would create theaters that we use. It's great to be from day one when you conceptualize this room to be part of that team saying, hey, what was this opportunity to take up this sound and do
I'm Scott Burrows, sound designer. I grew up in New York and decided to a hive mind which having had them as my hive mind collaborators, I gotta say that is one of the fun things. You're always given new challenges when you walk into a new project, you're given a new challenge or multiple new challenges. And the collaborative process of coming up with solutions is always just sort of fun. And I think Jane and I spoke the other day about how do you define a sound designer. We kind of find that we define our role as we walk through the theater. And depending on the collaborative process, we're having a lot of different happening. Anything from early creative designers to being involved in the competitional process to I just want to do a workshop process, or somehow I felt like I was the tour director of the show. I love that. Every time you walk out through the theater, you're reinventing your role, your place in the process.
So I'm from originally from South Korea, and it's my 10th year in this country. attending a sound program at State University of Deiorio 62 years ago. And I came to this country because I love American musicals. But I really like listening to good live music loud. Yeah, so happy when you work in music. And the thing I really like about sound is manipulating.
Hello, I'm Budries. Born in Wisconsin, living here now. Known for autographing the we read Theatrical, and now Waves, and Budries, and all the rest speakers. I think kind of coming from that aspect, I really appreciate solving those problems that come up with novel sounding concepts. That people come up with an idea of what they want to do, and realizing that in the physical world, and all the solutions need to happen to take it from an idea to an actual successful sound. And I really like coming up with those ideas and all the different ways one can conceive and make it happen in reality.
Hi, I'm Brad Barrett. I'm a native Hoosier, and now I live up in the mountains in the Berkshires. You're all invited. I do a lot of new work, and I find in the new work that I seem to function as the assistant director who happens to be in charge of sound. I really like that collaboration with the director, focusing on being a storyteller and using sound to do that.
Hello, my name is Deiorio. Originally from Rockland, New Jersey. I'm New York, engineer, record producer, and once upon a time, the pleasure of sound. My fondest experiences that I recall when a production coalesces and you can translate all the work that we collectively done to an experience for listeners, for all listeners, and everyone can walk out of that space with a really enjoying experience that they were part of something. I'm really excited to be here today, such as Steve, learning crowd.
Hi, I'm Brent Hans, I'm doing the Moderators. I was about to process 2 months in the show, and I'm workshopping for a year with looking for that to see if the script is going to evolve in response to that.
I'm Sam Lerner. I'm sound supervisor in the Theatrical. I live off Cambridge. I think my favorite part of the meeting so far has been watching all of these sound designers and engineers and their Actually, that's completely answering the question at hand. I love what I do in my role because I frequently function as either the associate designers coming in, or it's kind of more of a production sound role. But because we're also connected to a university, I deal with a lot of interns and people looking for work experience. So I get to pass off the information that I steal from smarter people as my own ideas to people who learn. But I mean, it's interesting that so many people talk about how they feel that they're co-directors of the show. I feel as a sound designer that I frequently identify slightly more with dramaturgy. I feel like a lot of what I do is really tied into the reality of the world and paying attention to those details that
My name is Kourtides, and I was for music and theater in Texas and California, and currently on the staff at Government College in New Hampshire, as well as for owner of the Kourtides conference, software but I think one of my favorite parts of a lot of the shows that I've worked on, especially academic shows, we have lots of student groups, is kind of opening the group, getting everything up, and doing more novels. Some of them these songs on iTunes all week, and I can't find them. And I told them, you're right, you can't find them. They're for the show, and they try. And it's something that they can't have. They work so hard for the show because it was made for the show, and it's something that is already kind of a new way of them learning to start their
be fun to observe and to discover that. So that's what I would do.
Nicholas Pope, living in the city. I guess I always feel like I try to manipulate the oral environment to support whatever the story that you're telling. And I love being inspired by good artists in the room and try to keep my mind open to what that means and try not to restrict what I did to what we currently think is the direction that field we're in. Great.
Hello. My name is William Cornell, and I'm the second installment of the low voice. I work for D&D Audio Technic. I mainly came to buy everybody. No, I was hoping for a lot. That's pretty good. Let's see, the last show I designed for was my 8-year-old daughter's second year end of year recital. This was a couple of weeks ago. We designed and built 3 different musical instruments out of recycled materials, and the one she chose to perform with, we called the Jump Maraca, because she's a very energetic young girl. And it's kind of a backpack with 2 big chambers, one with bottle caps and the other one with shelves, and made big ones. So I started out as a sound designer before I went to work for D&D, and I think that little story aligns with my experience as a designer because I enjoy giving performers and artists tools to manifest and magnify their passion for their.
Hi, I'm Judy Cornell. I'm living today. And my background is actually arts management. So I'm tagging along this weekend.
Really actually want to pay for that.
I am David Budries, born in Port Chester, New York, but living in New Haven, Connecticut right now. And I get a tremendous amount of joy out of working as a sound design professionally, but I actually shifted gears a little bit now. I'm 31 years, actually started my 32nd year teaching at Yale University, and a number of people who I've had the pleasure of working with within this room right now as well. That is really my joy right now, to bring some of the things that I've learned over the years to the forefront, but more to expose the talents that are within these individuals that are coming to me at the school. And that is an amazing joy to be able to watch people grow, emerge, and develop, both in terms of years and knowledge. And that is my current biggest joy.
Hi everyone, I'm Deiorio. I'm based out of Chicago, and I also teach at Southern Cal University, and I also do a lot of study here. But I think the thing that I get the most right now in this job is the audience response, and the idea that stories can change people's minds and affect them in a way that is profound and affecting. So to me, the emotional journey of the show and being responsible for that on musical and sound oral level to me is really exciting to watch the response of that.
Hi, I'm Rob Milburn. I agree with everything everyone was saying, seriously. But one of the things that Michael and I got to do just the other day, I told some people about this last night, we were at a workshop for a brand new play by David Bailey. And there were only like 7 of us who were the audience members for it. And they were doing reading after 2 weeks of the workshop. And the play, I think it's one book all we hearing something about as time goes by. It's called Visiting Bedtime. And to be in the room with these And I felt so lucky. Like, I've got the greatest job in the world to be one of the only people that ever gets to see this fleeting moment. And how fleeting here is, but how permanent it is here. I'm going to follow that. I'm Leon Rothenberg, and I'm a sound designer here in New York. I guess it's our favorite thing about the process, or actually, I thought of this just now, one of my favorite things about this job is moments like this where we get to see what all the people actually look like. Fun. And creating that community by extension is incredibly important and quite gratifying, I think. So that's what I can do in 2 minutes. Hey, I'm Aaron. I started part of Broken Chord, and I live here in New York. And the thing I think is most interesting about this job to me is that every day is a whole new set of people that you have to work with. I can't imagine going to an office and working for 40 years and seeing the same people. It's just not how I'm built. And it's nice because you get in and you hate the sound supervisor in 1 month. You're only going to work with them for 2 months, and then you're off to another. And likewise, you get to meet people, so many different people, and work in a different kind of environment. Every day, which is cool. Except that I don't.
Hi, I'm Daniel Baker, also part of Broken Chord. We don't but the thing that I'm sort of reflecting on about what I enjoy is kind of these long-term relationships that we develop with not only directors, but teams of people. Just really valuing long-term collaboration and how that shorthand develops and how each time that we go into a situation, your role in it changes even if you do the same group of people. And that goes for sort of creative teams that are making a play, making a piece, and also my work with Aaron and Phil, who's not here yet. Just how relationships develop over time and how you can learn from the people around you.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm from Minneapolis. And I think what I absolutely love about sound design is just the process. Well, it's being able to affect people psychologically and emotionally, as I think you touched on today. Just that process of creating worlds and being able to pull people into that. And someone also mentioned that part of our job is dramaturgy. It's really there, but I totally agree with that. And I actually love delving into that sort of sometimes historical realm. And also, I just want to give you guys a heads up that if you see me lying on the floor, I have a herniated disc. So it's awkward and weird, but I'm okay.
Hi, I'm Tay. I work in my favorite thing, everything everyone said was something at one point that I was going to say, so I'm going to do a different one, which was, I think my favorite thing right now is rolling into a venue and then finding out where some feature is on like a brand new mixing console, because there's so many things that are being invented right now. And that's sparking like a really intense dramaturgical conversation with the local sound supervisor that then like invites them into the language of your show. That's happened like the last 5 times that that's been, and that it seems like everything is built in isolation, and that moment is really exciting for me.
I am Daniel Baker, from Philadelphia, I live here. I identify primarily as a composer, although I work as a sound designer and a composer. That is a big interest of mine. I feel like my favorite moment in the process is when
first time that I feel like the instrumentation and the sense of time and the work of music. I feel like that's a moment in this process where I reach cruising after 2 years.
I wouldn't really have to say anything. Unless there's something here. I'm Marcus Butler. I work for Theatrical, and for me right now, it's extremely exciting to get to know all the key points, because in the end, my job is to give you the possibilities, the tools, the toys to create what you want to do, and not put any obstacles to that process. So I'm extremely excited to be here to get all the information and viewpoints from all of this. Extremely exciting for me. But so I'm involved. I think also for the community, and I think we have a little bit more time later on, from before to whatever. Or if you decide to get a 15 minutes to get the entire night. I don't care. I'm in the business for a couple of years, and honestly, the real moment of the business is when you're on the show, you got what it is, and you can't wait for 15 years. And then I'm there, and then I have to achieve it, and this is what I'm here. Coming in.
Hi, I'm Angela, and where are you from? I'm from here. I'm based in Brooklyn, and I like collaborating too. Actually, do you get it? That's probably.
Hi.
Oh, wow.
That's a wireless mic.
Wow, my last sound design was before yours, actually, 1971 in college. But what was cool about that was we were the recipient of one of the first mode modular synths, and the director of the show I was working on decided to use the chain that did the divining thing, and he kept throwing it out and said, okay, let's make a sound that matches that. And hexagram. So I had no idea what I was doing. I just made sounds, and he said, that sounds like compassion. And you're obviously a compassionate group. Right now, I'm the tech support guy for electrosonics, and I'm just thrilled to be part of this organization on the education committee. I did teach for 9 years, and I think helping others through education is just the best thing we can be doing. So, thank you. There's no right with you, too, by the way.
Which is a true New York experience. Welcome to New York experience. Just by raising hands, who can make it work? Like just to make this. Oh,
So, question about what is making it work, because some of you are new and heard a little bit about where you're coming from. How many people make it work by somehow being involved in education? And then, how many people do it by their own themselves? And then, how many do it by being somehow attached to some kind of manufacturer support? And how many don't just do it by, well, in fact, this thing side, other ways. How many people just, it's just design side of contracts?
Or you consider engineering something the same thing?
That's interesting, that's right. So how many people work by taking on a variety of roles within the sound community? In a freelance, yeah, freelance. I mean, how many people just sound?
How many people are attached to creative loss like ART?
Right. So it's actually sort of one single institution that we put in Perhaps a back on mine, and then we've been talking a lot about collaboration, and a lot of people talk about working as a team. I'm also curious about this. So how many people work on a show where kind of even don't have a sound out, like this person running as the stage manager? I know it's a multiple thing. I know you've been many shows, but how many people work on shows like that? It's so regular. Yeah. How many people with at least one other person? So you've got at least one person that's independent that's somehow sound director. And then a bigger team, like you had, so let's say you're bringing in somebody, you have at least one person. I just feel a lot of the talk has been about collaboration among the team, which is all of us, because we're here and that's what we do. But I think there is a group that gets to work in a larger sound team, and that is a special kind of collaboration that I always work on it, but I haven't certainly done it all the time. So I feel like that's actually, even though this is really about intensity and not about TSDCA, I will just say that that's where some of us really do need that kind of support of an association like this, because we are working by ourselves. You know, and so just,
Well, I think listening to all of you, probably could be summed up in just a couple of words. Always work with clever people because they make people better. And that's what we always try to do. And yes, and there are, especially in the Broadway world now, because the sound design and concept has become so complicated, there are maybe 4 or 5 people working with the designer, in addition to the local crew that's the operator and the A2s from backstage. So being able to work within that group and working collaboratively within that area is also important as working with the rest of the outside design world and as well as the composer offering.
I'm doing more try to summarize, but what I took from that set of introductions is that all of us wear a lot of hats. This is a really big tent of artists and collaborators, and I think almost to a person, we have a few different places where we move through, whether that is in a small group, sort of the device process, or in a larger staffed situation. And we learn the sort of scope and scale of the project that's in front of us on a per project basis, and it's always different. It's a new family, it's a new set of responsibilities, it has new rules and expectations, just as our conceptual designs and our logistical designs react to that new from zero, basically, on every project. I think I photographed that from the conversation that we just had. There's a lot of excitement and a real joy in finding that process of new. I certainly share that when I move between very small and very large projects. And I love every bit of it. And I'm conscious of also how valuable the time is, the time of collaborators, the time of staff. And I'm also curious to see about how we, over the course of these 2 days, talk about how we use our time, how our time is perceived by our collaborators, and how we
The time is up.
So, when I was maybe still off in the conversation with Scott, there's some, and other conversations that have come up, there is value to So part of what we're going from today, or even though these next 2 days, is that we're getting to understand the vocabulary that works in describing what we do to directors and other people within our industry, as well as any random person who might check our website and poke around. So how there, I'm supposed to throw that out, see if people have a response to this about ways that you attack that definition and somehow communicate it. You modify that kind of idea, or right. And was there a key moment that made them understand or be interested or thrilled or confused?
This metaphor that I came up with a while ago that I found resonated with a lot of sort of non-sound people. I like to say, yeah, I can go and get a sound effect CD that has thunder and play and all that sound design, just like I can walk through a theater and turn the work lights on and all that light design. And that seems to click with a lot of people. People who are not technical minded seem to understand what light design is. And it's time and effort and energy to accomplish that. That is art. Just like just getting a sound off of a sound effect isn't art, right? Figuring out the right one, crafting it in space, and how we balance it, like all of that is. We all know that, but that seems to be really sparking a lot.
Scott told a great story the other day about a person who came to visit the Dixie Council on Please share. Well, I want to hear your paraphrase of that. It goes back to this whole Tony Award thing. A person who's on the administrative committee, Tony Awards, Ted Chapin, who's the head of the Marcus and Hammerstein Foundation. I've known him for a long time, and we talked about what I do a fair amount, and he's been with me beside me for years, and he's seen what I do. And a couple weeks ago, I saw him, and he said, he looked at me and said, I finally understand what you do. And I thought, wait a second, you've been in theater together for years, really about 20 years. I dropped in to watch The King and I the other day, and no seats in the full house in the orchestra, so I climbed up to the mixing console and sat next to Mark Salford while we were mixing the show. And I didn't really want to watch the show, I wanted to listen to the show. So I watched Mark work while I was listening to the show. And I started seeing the relationship between his hands and faders and what I was hearing. And I had never actually made a connection before that the person who's back here listening to the musical actually creates the sonic shape of the show. And this is someone who's very sophisticated. And it's made me realize how you think people actually understand this. And they don't make the connection that there's a sonic world, and we as designers are creating the means for shaping that sonic world, and we have hopefully a little bit of collaborative mixing show for us, who can, on a day-by-day basis, create that environment that the audience perceives the sonic thing. And he had never really realized that. And I thought, oh, this is part of the issue we have with this Tony Award administrative committee. A lot of them don't understand. Even people who are on our side. He's been on our side. But he finally is the opposite on our side. But understands. The light went off. On. Right, exactly. That's one step getting to the beginning.
Well, I think sometimes the word finding
So, one thing that I find when we try various times to define it or write statements about it or figure it out, we come up with sort of roles and responsibilities. And certainly in contract design, that's something for roles and responsibilities. But we were looking at sort of some of the language for roles and responsibilities. It's a little virtually. So, going to 3 people at a table, just say a responsibility that you consider our responsibility as a sound designer. What do you have to do? And what can it do?
I feel like there's a minimum standard that is very difficult to meet correctly and oftentimes not done well. And that is just allowing the audience to hear and understand the story. And I feel like that is something that unfortunately falls by the wayside sometimes. And I do feel like that it's a minimum for us before we can even start getting out of that. I think it's responsibility of us.
One of the first definitions that we came up with years and years ago about sound was that the sound designer's responsibility was to impart to every seat in the same sound that sounds like at the source, whether the artist on stage, the musician in the pit, the sound effect, so that every seat in the venue has an equal opportunity to hear what it sounds like. When we tried to pass that on, some people said, well, if it sounds the same and good as every seat in the house, why do we charge different prices for the tickets? But that's a whole other discussion. Sometimes there's a pole in the way. You can't really change the architecture of the room, but you can put a lot of speakers there that allow you to hear better than the visual.
I find it often that one of my responsibilities as not only as an associate designer, but as a designer on my own shows, is to make sure that everyone on the team understands their intentions and be able to say those things. This is why I put this through here, and we need to call it this point because it benefits. And we can they understand that if something goes wrong, that the intention is that this happens. And oftentimes, many of the small shows that I do, that isn't necessarily the case. The stage manager doesn't always understand why they're calling these views where they are. So that's a large part of that experience associated with this area. This is why we're doing it this way. It's supposed to happen and how it affects the play. So yes, one other person at the table.
I think what we can do, is always involve music, and that's a huge responsibility because that's what affects the music. It's in the research and different what they want emotional resonance that that's just not something that we got for.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody sort of talked on this, but I think adaptability is something that we all need to be able to do, whether it's adaptability to the current process versus previous processes, or in the sake of you've got a theater today, your theater only has 300 people in it versus yesterday it had 700 people in it, and creating the same experience, or giving your mixer the tools to be able to create that same experience, or if you're designing a play, finding ways to create that same experience depending on the situation at hand. And yeah, whether it's in the show or whether it's in your creative process of how you do that, I think adaptability is sort of key for us, because everybody else, all the other designers are designing something on stage, and that's static. And what we're designing is in the house, to some extent, and the house changes, and the experience changes.
I'm going to maybe think back a little bit about that, because I feel like kind of what maybe you're saying is you're responsible for the live aspects. But I feel like other designs sort of lighting, do as well.
Yeah, I guess it's just said 2 things, but like that half of it is, the other designers, I feel like we point lights at a stage. What's happening on that stage is hopefully the same every night. We point speakers at the audience. What's happening in that audience varies on the night by night. I guess that's sort of the core of what I'm saying.
Yeah, and giving the, it's specifically giving the team that's left,
Yeah,
when you leave, the tools to adapt.
yeah.
The other three designs, senior costume and lighting, once they're done, they're static, and it remains the same. The sound is dynamic, it changes from night to night, especially if you're doing touring productions, where you load different size venues. So the sound has to be aware of the fact that they're impacting not only what comes from the stage, from the performance, but also what happens to the audience. Whether it's winter time and everybody's in coats, whether it's summertime and not so long dress. All of those take into account what the sound designer and his team urgently have to do.
And also outdoor venues for community.
And when?
Something that I'm seeing just come up, a little bit, if I can draw a tiny through, a responsibility that I feel really strongly about. Sometimes it's a heavy burden, sometimes I have to fight to take the responsibility. It's something that I've been thinking about, the performability of the work. I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a catch-all. It can encapsulate large amplified musical theater process. It can be a tiny ensemble-driven process where literally the means and materials are being made up on the spot. But I want influence and I want to have responsibility as a sound designer for the performability of whatever that outcome is. Whether it's we're going to be able to sing this the way we decided we're going to sing it, or the magic noise maker that comes out of the box is going to do that the way the performer needs it to be, the way that we as conceptualizers have agreed that's the way it's going to work. I want to be deeply involved in that process. I want to sign off on it. I want to make sure everybody understands what our outcomes and what our objectives are, so that the performability is this thing that percolates to the entire production. And that's the thing that it's easy to kind of get closer in. So we felt sort of murky definitions. I embrace some of the murkiness, but I wish that we could talk about some of these ideas with more universal language.
I'd love to talk about that. So I think it's something we just never talk about. And it's not as big a deal now as it was 20 or 30 years ago when a sound operator on a play to do a complex play would have to be unbelievably adept. And he was the designer who had to decide how far you could push the performability skills of that engineer. Like how creative can I be in the work in terms of doing multiple layers of cueing and surround and all kinds of things that give sound or texture. At a certain point, an operator just couldn't do anymore. And you had to figure out what was the deal. There was a performance aspect. And he goes back to the beginning of the design process. You had the analog days, you had to think about having to lay the board out. The ergonomics of what I'm trying to do. This is the same thing on play as a musical. When we were having to do before the days of SFX, and they were 30 fingers that an operator had to constantly be getting to. We think in the design process, how do I lay out the console so that an operator can do what I'm trying to achieve creatively? And how can an operator repeat that night by night and not have that creativity? And that's like something, and I think that's also part of the current creative process, like how do you lay out the performance environment for people to run your show? Like the ergonomics of it, the thought process involved, and how I make a decision about where I reach for things. All these things that we all think about, but we never talk about that. Like how you lay your console out, how you lay from your house system out to get to it, how you do all of your signal paths so that it makes sense for people, on and on and on. These are like all really important things that are well in the design process and all the creative process that we almost never thought about it to do it. You know? So I think that's a really good enough because we don't talk about it. And we each have our ways of doing it. And some of us, I think, some of us have a very, very specific way that we always do it. And other people, I think, respond to the ecology of a particular design team and operator you work with. I tend to actually try to find out what my operators are comfortable with and let them determine a lot of that. And stop when I see that they're going too far in POC crack fashion. You know, a lot of you go at it. Because you know, point you want to give the person who's going to make their show every night the authority to the way they feel like ownership on. But then you see a certain point where they are going so far into their own brain that no one else has ever understand what they've done here, and no one else has ever done the show to go because it's waste and parts like they have. I think that's, no, you can't do that. I'm going to give you a certain amount of authority, but with Rod, say no, repeatability, performability, reliability.
Going with the story that you told earlier, with the story you told earlier that we were just talking about, I also think it's very important for us to, maybe not in a technical matter, but to get that across to all the other people, whether that is the director, the producer, whoever, to understand, so they have an understanding, at least at a conceptual level, of what our challenges are and what we're trying to accomplish. And without that conceptual understanding, we have no reason to empathize, with what we're trying to do, or what we're doing, and what our difficulties are. And so I was trying to articulate that, like, to me, not in a technical fashion, but in a conceptual fashion.
Just to piggyback on Nick and Scott. Proximity factors. There's a metaphor that Danielle Barry and I developed with the sound art installations at museums and basements and things. There's a metaphor we developed that helped us explain to ourselves what we were doing. Because we didn't know. And so, we say we're sound artists. What does that mean? How do we make that make sense? And I think if we want to explain it to other people in a way, maybe we should be clear about it to ourselves. In that, as sound designers, we are artists. And our structure and medium might be slightly different, whereas if you're the easiest metaphor, I think someone can understand is portrait painting. So you have the subject of your portrait, the Mona Lisa. So that becomes our script, or our story. That's our subject matter. And then we have a canvas we're going to put it on. That's our performance space, our theater, our basement, our garage, where we're making the art. And then we have our paints, which are sound waves, or things that make noise, the sounds that come out. And our paintbrushes become sound consoles, computers, speakers, all the stuff that make it happen. Once that clicks for me, it allowed me to understand what I was doing a little bit more. It gave me more permission to go somewhere. And to understand that if an artist is painting a painting, they don't let a paintbrush limit what they're going to do. They define another paintbrush or change the paintbrush. And so defining it for myself made it a lot easier for me to, if I had a director that maybe didn't understand what I was doing, to be able to define it for them in a term that wasn't at all technical, but conceptual in a way that was easy to understand.
Let's keep going with responsibilities a little bit, just because this sort of, I'll just tell you the backstory a little bit, is actually, they're in a different place. So, there's a very exciting new off-Broadway contract that's going to be actually happening. So there's terminology about what we do in that contract. It's about what we're responsible for. That's kind of actually also kind of why I'm interested in this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm also on that. Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if you'd like to do some pages of this. But, some of what's being drafted is like really, really simple fundamental language that can describe a box that has to be checked in any
scenario, no matter what type of, really across all of the variables that some of the differences, every project has some degree of conceptualization of user responsibility. And every process has some degree of collaboration that is your responsibility. And then every process has some degree of supervision or supervision, which is to say that, and I think this is where it gets really murky contractually, certainly on project parentheses, in which the main contentious issues are the boundary between the design and the execution of the design, which for other designs, I think we know the difference between drawing a costume sketch and actually building the clothes themselves, essentially the evaporation of costume shows, but whatever. In our discipline, I think that there's, regardless of what team you're working in and the context of the work is actually being executed, some degree of responsibility falls on every sound designer for supervising and integrating that into reality.
Actually, I just want to say I was recently at a work theater with a sound supervisor. He mentioned that the word contracts are coming up. I don't think this is correct to me, actually. But he said that one thing that they were actually, that theater was going to bring to the table was trying actually to figure out how all designers, actually he wasn't really thinking on sound, but how designers could be accountable. Because his concern coming from that side was if somebody wasn't bringing paperwork, what is the next besides that supervisor going to get to the environment, it's real sort of middle level. So we're all here, that's what we're responsible for. We can just help them out. Because obviously there are others.
I mean, I think currently the way the world works is that our responsibility is to understand the unique parameters of whatever situation we're working in which integration and execution is a process. One of the challenges to actually both of those things, I think we all have some degree of experience that it's a time-consuming thing to try to solve. Once you figure out what your goal is in the project, because you figure out a creative way in, or maybe it has an obvious set of parameters that you amplify the music, make the performance fun, make the music director happy, whatever make yourself happy. Sometimes it's obvious and sometimes it's not. And to talk about things that are not obvious is a time-consuming conversation that people that we hope to be our collaborators are not always comfortable or willing to have that conversation. What is my role? I want to be able to learn. My teaching is not going to talk about that. Production manager is not going to talk about that. That's a conversation between close collaborators that doesn't really go beyond that meeting. It makes a conversation about contracts and deliverables just breathtaking.
And I think that our merging with the whole music director role is, I'm very interested to hear tomorrow, the questions for Tony and Paul about is that how we interact with the music director and what happens when in a project we've taken on maybe some things of what might be a music director's role that might be helped because we've involved with the music director or it's just very murky. So very many things.
Some things that kind of make sense up here is we're going to hopefully do it more easily on really make sense of. I think one of this was touched on a bit in this one we're doing the introduction, the idea of like walking into each project and sort of the role being defined as you discover what this project is about. And I think for me it's one of those things where so often I end up seeing it's like there's this toolbox of tools that one has, and that could include sound reinforcement, it could include composition, it could include system design to some extent, it could include all of these things, and all of these things, and that different projects have different needs within them. Sometimes it's also like depending on venue, there's certainly certain shows and certain venues where some of those are like baked in terms of doing some reinforcement. You're doing digital, especially in large states, right? You're going to do it. But so much of it feels very mutable from project to project. And I guess to what was just being said too, in terms of how those conversations come up about, well, what are the actual responsibilities then? I think it's also tricky because there's often shows where some of that is very clear up front, but sometimes it's through even the rehearsal process, discovering new things that the show wants, and now the job has changed. And as an artist, it changes personally because like this is what the show needs, so I want to do this for the show now. But then how does that kind of come to terms with sort of contract restriction, responsibility, accountability? Because now I have a new thing I want to do, versus the how to do it right there, so.
In the through line of trying to talk about responsibility, one of the things I like to say is that it's my job to design the oral experience for the audience. So the way I had that manifest, I assisted Lindsay on Mousetrap at the Rec, which is a full thrust house for the and in that show, there was a radio and the radio was lost. The radio station left. And I swung over, the guy goes in and turns it on, but it sort of stays there for a second to like sort of prove the point. And during one of the questions meetings afterwards, they were talking about, like, should we make it louder or like we just have to sort of hear what was going on? I was like, well, what if he went to the stage left side, upstage there, so we can actually see if this was turning the thing on? And because that was like the oral experience was that about 2/3 of the audience wasn't getting what was happening. Because all of a sudden the radio turned on and it looked like stopped moving and it didn't make sense. But he was like going over and turning it on because he wanted everyone to hear it. And so even doing something like that where it was a collaborative thing of doing a blocking thing actually assisted the oral experience of the audience.
One of the things that we do as design and sound designers is we also, and I know Rob and I work on this particularly, but it's the idea of quality control. So your content is not an issue. So we're trying to get the best highest fit with the sample with it if you can present it. Finding ways to interact with an actor or just that would be a really good example of what we solve the problem and how to tell that story. The other thing is not just about content, it's also about presenting it. Because it's a complicated thing to present sound in every house. And the way we present it, using EQ, delay, surround speakers, so that it's an immersive experience or a very specific experience, so it's using radio or that presentation allows the audience to become involved without hearing the speaker. I think that's a lot of time, a lot of experience, a lot of effort, so that it goes through content and presentation to in the UK, most of the content that I get is Saturday. And very simple definition of what I'm going to do. And that is usually 1 month. And it's deliver the sound design, to the satisfaction of the director, to the best of your ability. And that's it. That's what I sign off on. That covers everything from finding the music, designing the system. It also covers quite a lot of the time. Sorting out the in-house system. About 3 months, and I've editing. My last show was one of the moments was up here, where on my feet I gave up 150 pounds but get them 2 hours to shoot because I had one. Because I needed more than 3 broken control months. And they didn't have any money. But I usually practically sang, I contact my friends to do the sound, but through the record, but your ability. And do very often say, going out and buying kits, we want to make it happen. And in fact, we did the theatre. But the next show I'm doing is in transit, which is really in Moderators, and
go,
I know these things are
I think I have the rest of my ability or free work control on it, and that's as far as it goes. But I can't, none of us can do it. We find a way around it. I think one of the problems with trying to run the design is far too modest. Right? We don't actually stand up and find that corner. We don't demand to. I'm standing there and writing design and say, I'm sorry, unless it's the right thing to do, I will not do the show. Because you actually usually nothing to do with that. You're responsible for the money. Go, bang. Okay? And I say, I need an extra last week. And the amount of money I'm in, I still, to this day, don't understand who makes a decision about money. Although I have to say that after I put up the job they're doing, and my budget for a 4-week run for a theatre fully equipped, I've been with all the time, is $7,500. My expenditure is about $1,000. Is that? You need to get it. So I gave all of my money to the week of Boston because they could cut for the week. And that's, that's the kind of collaboration that you need to be able to do. But who decides what I think is industry? And very often it's arbitrary. It's never made on, probably will look at a trade and go, okay, so gold and gold, that's there's nothing else here. And you think, okay, but we've got hardly equivalent to trade gold and gold. And it's exactly the same for our own land. But if it's going to be lots of gold, there's lots of gold. And it becomes, I think, everybody knows, the lack of appreciation actually goes on in the I'm quite lucky because a lot of my work for a long time, and they know what's happening. The problem comes when they use YouTube commercials in my head, where it's the producers that call themselves and not the rest. And it's one of the reasons that people are mad and old enough not to fit the story. Well, I'll argue with producers. Producers don't like to do that. And that's unfortunate from my bank balance. But it makes me feel a bit better.
I think, listening to all of this, I would like to paraphrase something that Steve Jobs once said. He said that the destination is not the important thing, it's the journey you take to get there that's important, which then makes the destination worthwhile. And so it's our journey through all of this process to get to the end result. So we concentrate on how we do it, what our final result is, and we do it correctly through that point. The end result should probably be very good.
That's an amazing way to end our first session. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring out some cookies.
Yeah.